And all my love.
Did I ever?
So you're running low on steam?
No.
You missed that one. You missed that one. You missed that one. What every time I
I'm doing well. How are you?
Yeah. Try to behave myself.
You don't have any more? Thanks, man. You ready? I like that. Yeah, that's just blocking the handwriting. That's probably part of your job. Not part of your job. See that? Blocking the handwriting. $1. Who are your dad from? You're here with +2. You're +2. Perfect. What's up? Let me look at this. Derek, take your tab mic right now. Are they all? Yeah, tell me to get down. Hey, if I have some quizzes later,
Is it a boat?
big play,
Oh, you're making, oh, Daddy.
Jamie's on now, he doesn't want to get.
Good evening. I want to start by thanking you all for coming out tonight. We have a lot of good information to share for you, and it's nice to see people who are coming out because in our philosophy, we can't do this alone. As a school, the parents are an integral part to that, and I think that you coming to show your support certainly warms our hearts, and we hope we can share some information for you to share with your own friends and family members to try to keep this information flowing. My name is Matt Montgomery. I am the middle school principal, and I will soon be assuming more responsibilities with the high school as well at the end of the month. Some people have been provoking me about that. You can hear the laughter. It's okay. I'm excited. It'll be lots of new responsibilities, but I'm going to take it one day at a time. A little bit about me. This is my second year here at Waterloo. I'm a Waterloo graduate. Very proud to be a Waterloo graduate. And I'm happy that I live in the community and I'm able to serve the community in which I live. I have 3 little people at home, so we're busy. 3-year-old, 2-year-old, and 2-month-old. So sleep is an option that I'm not able to get most often. Nevertheless, a little about me, and here is my colleague, Mrs. Sheehan.
Hi, good evening. I'm so excited to see so many people here tonight. I think this is a really important topic, and I've been going in to the classrooms for the 7 years I've been in this position. I'm the counselor K through 8. I go into every classroom, kindergarten through 8th grade, usually from October to January. I had 1st and 2nd grade to do yet this year, and we're done. So they've been hearing this for quite a while. So hopefully passing the information on to you will help as well for you guys to communicate about this kind of stuff. I've been here for 25 years, way older than this one. The first 18 years I taught, and I've been in the counselor position for 7 years now.
I want to tell you a little bit about how we got here tonight. In Waterloo, most of you are aware, but some of you may not, we have a Waterloo Community Action Committee, and it is a group of parents and community members who have joined the school in trying to develop those relationships. They're a wonderful group of people. They have information on the table as you walk in. There's sign-ups. There's other meetings that are coming up that I'll tell you later about at the end of the presentation. But it's another group of people who are willing to keep the lines of communication open, and we've had nothing but success working with them. So they came to us. Sean Renee came to Mrs. Shaver. There she is, smiling. Came to Mrs. Shaver, myself, and asked for a meeting just to talk about Waterloo's policies. She wanted some background information, and through that conversation, we determined that maybe a scenario like tonight would be beneficial. So we'll find out at the end if it worked. We have some ideas for some future ones that we'll share with you, and we'll kind of get your feedback. It's going to be pretty laid back in this presentation. We're going to try to give you more information than you would ever want, but at the same time give you plenty of opportunity to ask questions at the end. As a good teacher, we always want to tell you what you're going to learn tonight, or what the format of the lesson is going to be. So the first thing is we're going to give you sample programming. What does that mean? That means that Mrs. Shaver is going to present to you some of the things that the students would hear in that K-8 programming in the actual lessons in the classroom. So she's going to give you a sample of that. So you can facilitate conversations with your children because you're going to have an idea of what is presented, and then hopefully further reinforce that with them as well. So we're going to do that first. Then I'm going to do the boring stuff, but it's the stuff that needs to be talked about. She kind of gets the fun stuff, and I'll chime in. And I get the law and the policy at Waterloo. It's important that you know about that. We wanted to start with kind of the background first and then get into the nitty-gritty, and then we will finish with questions and answers. If there's questions that we can't answer, that's okay. We'll make sure we get an answer to you ASAP. We're not pretending that we are the end-all, be-all in knowledge, but we are willing participants in the conversation who will go the extra mile if there's something that you raise concerns about that we can help you with. Any questions before I start, or Mrs. Shaver starts? Okay, here we go.
Okay. I'm going to just kind of go through some of the things that I do with my middle school kids because I just think it's more appropriate for this audience. And keep in mind that when I'm with the kids, I have 80 minutes. So beyond what I'm going to talk about here, I have DVDs that I use with the kids. We do some role playing. A lot of the teachers will do a writing activity before or after I come in. So what I do with the kids is much more extensive than what I'm going to talk with you about tonight, okay? So I'm going to talk to you like your kids, so don't be offended, okay? So I would come in and I introduce myself. Most of the kids all know me. And I say, okay, I'm here to talk about a very important topic. We're going to talk about bullying today. So the first thing we need to do is define it. What does bullying mean to you? Okay. What does bullying mean to you? Yeah.
Hurting someone's feelings.
Okay, hurting someone's feelings. What else? Yes.
Hitting.
Hitting. Yes. Anything else?
Kicking, biting, spitting.
All of those things. Yes.
Intimidating.
Intimidating. It is. Yes. Harassment, yes.
And name calling.
Name calling, yes. All of those things are bullying, okay? But there's a definition to bullying. Besides those things being present, it has to meet two criteria, okay? First of all, it has to be repeated. It has to be more than once. Because let's face it, as people, sometimes we're just unkind to each other, but it's not a bullying situation. It might be you had a bad day, you might snap at somebody. That's not bullying. If it's repeated, it's happening over and over. That's one of the criteria for it to be a bullying incident. The second thing is it has to be intentional, which is a big fancy word, of course. I always tell the kids for on purpose. The person has to be trying to hurt you in one of the three forms of bullying: physical, emotional, and social. I'm going to talk about those in a minute. Because again, we've all had times where we've said something to somebody thinking we were being funny, hurt their feelings. That's not bullying because it wasn't intentional. It wasn't on purpose. So when you are thinking about a bullying incident and reporting it, stop and ask yourself, has it been repeated, and was the person trying to do this on purpose? And if you answer yes to those questions, you've got a bullying incident and you need to go talk to someone. Okay?
I think one of the big things that we thought tonight, or I guess appealed to us, is that bullying is so often used. The word is thrown around all the time, on the news, on the internet. It's everywhere we turn around. And having a working definition of that will help you understand or at least sift through what is bullying and what is not bullying. So in this situation, knowledge is power. And the title of this presentation is Demystifying Bullying. What does that mean? That means that sometimes right now, because there's so much information, it's unclear. It's a mystery what is bullying and what isn't bullying. So that's our purpose for you today, to figure out what actually meets that threshold and to give you suggestions and help for if you're in that situation, how can we be of assistance?
All right, there are three types of bullying, and my kids that are in here would know the answer without looking at the slide. Right, Luke? All right, we have three types of bullying. Physical is the first one. What do you think physical bullying means? That's a pretty obvious one. Hitting, kicking, pushing, anything that hurts your physical body is physical bullying. The second one, emotional. Any idea what that is, what that entails? Name calling can be part of it, yes? Sorry, can you hear me? Threats, yes? Intimidation, yes. Anything that hurts your feelings is emotional bullying. Now the third one's more of a gray area, social bullying. You got it, Luke? Go.
Yeah, it's mostly done by girls. It's where they
We do talk about the difference between the way girls and boys bully, so you're good, go.
It's where they like normally pick inside their friend group.
Yes, and what does it involve? Do you remember?
Like if one gets mad at another, the friends of the one kind of like pick on that one person.
Or maybe leave them out, right. Social bullying is anything that affects your friendships or your relationships. And sometimes you see this a lot in middle school, the exclusion of people. And again, it has to be repeated and intentional. So that's the social bullying part of it. And it really pulls in, some of the emotional bullying too can be part of social bullying. Luckily for us here at Waterloo, physical bullying is very, very rare. Emotional and social, if I get any at all, that's where it kind of starts. Okay, cyberbullying. We talked to the middle school kids about this a lot. What is it? Cyberbullying.
Are you asking?
Yes, I'm asking.
Anything that does with technology?
Right, any bullying done through technology. It could be cell phones, could be computer, could be the iPods that the kids can go online, it could be Xbox Live, where they're talking online. You will be amazed to know that when I was in the third grade classes last week, I asked them how many had cell phones. Take a guess. Give me a percentage of what you think 9 and 10-year-olds, how many of them have cell phones?
75.
Who said 75? That's it. 3/4 of our third graders have cell phones. And of those 3/4, most of them have phones with texting capabilities. Okay? So it's starting younger and younger. Third graders have cell phones. And my fifth graders is about the same. About 3/4 of them had cell phones as well. So it's out there, and it's younger and younger.
Before we move on, I was going to tell you that, I want to say this. Some of the things we're going to say tonight is not going to be popular, but I feel like we need to say it. If a parent buys or gives a cell phone to a third grader, a fourth grader, fifth grader, or any grade, we're here to help you try to help manage that. So what is your involvement in protecting your child and protecting other children once you put that technology in their hands? And it becomes a responsibility of everyone. So we need to give you some tools, and I think sometimes it's you don't understand the technology yourself. Now, Mrs. Shaver already said that I may be a little younger than her, but she's wonderful. And so pretty. However, I feel like I know a lot about technology, but I find that the middle school students are still running circles around me. Now, I will tell you, my 2-year-old and my 3-year-old will pick up my old iPhone, unlock it, find Angry Birds, click it, and play. But 2 and 3, this is not healthy. Maybe I shouldn't be giving this to her. However, she can do it. I guess the point is that we have to find a way to communicate to the parents the knowledge to help you supervise what they're doing with that technology. And we're going to talk about ideas of how to get that information to you as well. There's things that maybe you heard about that you need to know about if you're a parent. One is texting.
I know that one.
Texting is sending the electronic message from one phone to the next. The next one is Facebook. I hope if you've heard about it at least. It's kind of a big thing. Twitter is, in my opinion, Facebook's angry sister. I'm serious. Twitter sometimes is just a place where people can just be mean just to be mean. That's what's happening. And I also tell you that the trend that I'm seeing is that kids are moving from Facebook to Twitter.
Too many grown-ups on Facebook. Right.
It's not cool anymore.
Yeah, they're getting away from it.
So Twitter is just a sound-off board. Facebook is more pictures, more adult-oriented now. Twitter is kind of the hot spot. Now I'm going to go to some newer ones. Instagram.
Never heard of that till last week. I didn't know what it was.
Instagram is an app where you can take pictures. I thought it was just take pictures and share them.
That's what I thought.
A month ago, I figured out that it's another social networking site where you can do everything you can do on Twitter and Facebook. It's just I would say there's less parents on Instagram, and they don't know what it is.
It's without a phone. You can use it on an iPad touches.
Right.
iPod Touch, any kind of
Right.
internet-capable device.
Anything that'll connect to Wi-Fi.
So you need to know that, right, parents? You need to know what the heck Instagram is. So when you look at if you're looking at your phone or tablet of your child, which we're going to tell you should do, you can say, maybe that's something I need to look into. Then this last one is Snapchat.
Brandon, just heard about that one this week.
Snapchat. So I'm going to let her talk about, I'm going to ask Mrs. Shaver to talk about sexting, and then we're going to come back to Snapchat.
Gives me that one.
You're older and wiser.
I'm older and wise. And honestly, I have 2 kids. I have a 23-year-old and a 20-year-old. So I've lived through the teenage years. You will come out on the other side. It'll be fine. Trust me. Sexting. It's big. And I go into the classroom and I talk to the kids about it, and I get it hard. Sexting in the state of Ohio right now is a felony, no matter what your age. It doesn't matter if you're 13, doesn't matter if you're 23, it's a felony. And you can be placed on a sex offender list for 25 years. And I tell the kids that. And if you're on a sex offender list, there's lots of things you can't do. You can't live, within a certain area of the school. You can't join the military. You can't be a teacher. There's tons of things you can't do with a felony on your record. It's big. And they get that. They still do it.
So if we look at this, I'll come back to Snapchat, I promise. But this is interesting that we found. So it says, this is what, to reinforce what Mr. Shaver is saying, 75% of them, I forget where the study was done, stayteen.org, 75% of them are saying they know it's wrong. We know that there are negative consequences, but 39% of them have sent or posted suggestive messages. and 20% have sent or posted nude suggested images of themselves. When I read that, I was like, okay, we have a problem.
And we've seen that here. We've had incidences, and while talking to the student, they will say, I say to them, do you remember what we talked about in class? Yes, it's a felony. They know that.
I mean, they'll spit it off. Felony, 25 years.
Yeah, they know.
Sex offender. And you're like,
But when you have a middle school girl and a middle school boy and the hormones, you know, it happens. But they need to understand the seriousness of it. Now, I will tell you, Ohio is in the process of changing the law, like several other states have, where the consequences for minors will be different than the consequences for adults, which I think is good, because their prefrontal lobes aren't developed yet. So they make decisions now that aren't smart. And it shouldn't, I don't think it should ruin the rest of their life. So they're in the process now of changing that law and making it a different consequence for minors than it is for adults.
but you should know that that has not went through.
Yeah, not
It
happened
is
yet.
stalled to our knowledge.
Yes.
So there's no movement on the change. They attempted twice is what we looked up and found out that, they've attempted twice, but it has not been altered. I wanted to address a very important thing that Mrs. Gump just said. The sex offender or the child pornography charge is awarded to the person who not only sent the picture, but also took the picture. So if a young lady takes a picture of herself and sends it, and then that person sends it, the person who sent it to everybody is guilty, and the person who took the picture of themselves. That's important. You should know that.
And if you,
They should know that.
If you save it on, I always tell the kids this, if you save it on your phone, you are considered in possession of child pornography. If you send it or forward it, you've trafficked in child pornography. So and some of the kids will say, well, what do I do if I get a picture that I didn't ask for? And this is what I tell them. Show it to your parent, I got this, I didn't ask for it, delete. And done. Because if you save it, that's an offense as well. So,
I'm going to go back to Snapchat and why I think it could be potentially harmful. Snapchat is something I learned about over Christmas. I have a niece, she's 16, and she told me about this great new thing called Snapchat. Let me tell you about it. It's an app for a phone, and you sign up for friends. So Mr. Carpenter and I would be friends. And I can write a message on my phone and send it to his phone, and it would show up for X amount of seconds that I program in. So if we're friends being goofy, no problem, right? But let's put another scenario. Let's say it's two middle school kids, and the one is sending those pictures we just talked about, and sending it for somebody to think it's going to be deleted from their phone after 8 seconds. So the inappropriate picture is sent, it's on the screen for 8 seconds, and then it goes away. So the middle school brain thinks, oh, yes, I'm protected. I'm going to walk over here, I'm going to pick up my iPhone, and everybody, well, the middle schoolers know this. If you push the home screen and the lock screen at the same time, it takes a picture of the screen. So, if the image is up for 8 seconds, I can go snap, oop, I saved it. So it's not gone off your phone. It's there forever. So I think it's going to be, I think this could be potentially dangerous because they're going to feel like they're in more of that invisible ID. And it's just not the case because the technology will enable you to take the pictures. So that's something I want you to know about. And if your friends have children and they're talking about Snapchat, I want you to say, be careful, monitor what they're doing. Because Montgomery and Shaver said it may be dangerous. And when we say that, that usually means that it's going to come into the office at some point.
we're going to see it.
It's not there yet, but we don't know.
And the other thing about cyberbullying too is, first of all, it's way easier for kids to be mean if they're sitting behind the safety of their computer or their phone at their house, and they're not looking the person in the face and seeing what they're doing. They're vicious sometimes on there. And the other thing is, for those of us that are a little older, when we were in school, if there was bullying, when you went home at the end of the day, it was over. It's 24/7. Because they're not going to shut their phones off. They're not going to stay off Facebook. It doesn't stop. And that's a huge thing, I think, that goes along with some of the things we've seen in the media from bullying. It doesn't stop. There's no place to go to get away from it. Okay.
Everyone's trying to think of what to say about that. We're going to talk a little bit later about what happens when the message is sent in school between two students, and what happens when the message is sent at home between two students, and how there's an overlap and how there's some gray. Because there is gray in that situation, but let's save that for a little bit later.
All right, so after we talk about the definition of bullying, after we talk about the 3 different types, and we talk about the cyberbullying, we get to the important stuff. You need some strategies to use if you find yourself being the target of a bully. And I know some of these sound really simple, but Luke, what do we talk about? Walk away, what do we say about it? Eventually, that's the key word there. Ignoring and walking away, they're hard for kids to do. And I tell them it's hard for adults to do. But what a bully wants from you is a reaction. They want to see you cry. They want to see you mad. They want to see you upset. They want a reaction. So when you ignore them or walk away from them, and it's going to take more than once, they don't get what they want. And they're going to move on to somebody else that gives them what they want. But you have to be patient. And it's not easy. And we never do that in physical bullying situations. If it's physical bullying, we go straight to telling adults. But for the emotional and social, these are some things we could try first. And then we talk about standing up for yourself. You have the right to tell someone, I don't like what you're doing, stop. And again, a bully doesn't want someone that's going to fight back. They want a passive target. They want someone who's not going to give them trouble back. And they're going to move on to a passive target, someone who won't stand up for themselves. Again, it might take more than once, but it will work. This one's kind of crazy, and you're going to think I'm nuts. Turn it into humor or agree. That diffuses a situation and takes the power away from the bully. Because if Mr. Montgomery says something to me about my ugly shirt, and I agree with him, oh, I know, I hate this shirt. Okay, it's done. So if you can kind of joke about it, turn it into a joke, laugh about it, or just agree with them, it kind of confuses them. And it defuses the situation. And again, that's just in a social or emotional thing, never in a physical bullying situation. And then finally, tell an adult. We go over how many adults there are here to tell. There's bus drivers, there's playground aides, there's teachers, there's administrators, there's counselors. There are tons of adults around for you to talk to. Pick one you're comfortable with. And I always tell the kids, if you don't get what you think you need from the first adult you talk to, you go to another one until you get what you need to help you with this situation. So those are our 5 strategies, and the kids know them pretty well because they've been hearing them since kindergarten. So they know them. Yeah, Luke. You gonna say something?
No, I'm just.
You know them all, okay.
Okay, this is where we talk about how we need parental help to make this work and be successful. So we're on your team and you need us, and we need you on ours. We found this slide. The point of the slide is to show, they did a study and they said, when are parental controls needed on a computer at home? Parental controls, you can go into your home computer, your PC, your Mac, and set what sites kids can go to. Can they go to this place, that place, and you can do passwords and really protect them and filter stuff. So if you do a pretty innocent web search, sometimes you can get a wide array of options. Or, I'm serious, so that kind of parental control could help you. But the reason we put that up is because look at the range. 7, which is grade 2.
That's second grade, yeah.
Through 16, which is a sophomore. That's when they're saying that the parents need to have parental controls in place. I show you that because we want you to be empowered as parents. We want to be the liaison with your knowledge of technology so you can help us and we can help you. What does that mean? Well, this is what we're going to ask you to do or give you ideas of what you can do. The first one is easy because you're here. Learn about what bullying is. One that we didn't put up there is to share the information that you found with your friends. Next one, become active with your child's social networking. And here's one that nobody wants to hear. I'm sure some of you do it, but you can say no. You can say, no, you can't have a cell phone. No, you can't have access to the internet. No, you don't need a tablet. You can't say no.
I've had parents talk to me before about being concerned about invading their child's privacy. As a parent of former teenagers, they don't have any privacy.
When they move out.
Yes. Until they're 18, you own them. And everything that they have is because of you. So they don't need privacy, they need protected. So,
And they'll tell you, you can't invade my privacy. No, 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 no,
yes,
no,
yes,
no.
I can.
You know the tricks they play, but I still run things by my mom. I'm not ashamed to say that. Maybe I should have said that. What I'm saying is that I benefited from having a parent who always looked out for me and said no when she needed to say no, or when my dad said no, he needed to say no. You can do that too. Now, I will also tell you that when I was sitting around the table with Dr. Hill and the other administrators and teachers, I said that we should bring technology into the school. So don't think that I'm talking out of two sides of my mouth, even though some of you will think I am. I think technology has a lot of good things. But in order for us to reap the benefits of it, we have to be actively engaged monitoring what they're doing. And we can't do that past 3 o'clock. And, to be perfectly honest, it's a struggle to do it during the day. But if we're all working together, maybe we can make a difference. So, here's an interesting one. If we move past that, I was on my soapbox for a minute. I'll get back on. Encourage your child to be tolerant. What does that mean?
A lot of the bullying that happens, or not, we don't have a lot, so I don't want to do it that way. Some of the bullying that occurs is because kids pick on other kids who are different. Our kids need to understand that being different is okay. But that's not, you don't pick on people that are different, that it's okay, and they need to learn to be tolerant. If we could teach them that, that would be a huge help.
And the last one I think is one of the most important. If you don't know, or if you have concerns, or if you have suspicions, we're here. We're here for you. And we were brainstorming what a part 2 would look like of this seminar. In part 2 in our heads, I haven't run this by you yet, let's just brainstorm together. Part 2 would be, I'm a parent, I don't know how to log on to Twitter, log on to Facebook, log on to Instagram, log on to Snapchat. I don't know what they mean, I don't know how to use the technology, so how the heck am I supposed to do what Montgomery's asking me to do? So part 2 would be, get in here, bring your children's passwords with you, and we'll look together. I'll show you how to do it. Or you can create your own Twitter, Facebook, and whatever, so then you can have access. I want you to be aware of this little tidbit that I found my niece is getting more felicity that she needs. I found out that she has multiple Facebooks or multiple Twitter accounts. So you, in your hand, you're like, oh, I'm such a great parent, I have the password to her account. And she's got 3 other ones running. And the one she's sharing with you, everything's
It's
perfect.
good.
So don't fall for that either,
And that's not unusual.
where they have multiples.
Yeah.
I saw a student the other day have 4 Twitter accounts. Incidentally, all of those were me. But there's some kids that are playing that card. So I need to say, you need to be aware of it. Okay, this was wonderful. Maybe you've seen this. We edited some of the stuff you can read later. It's a little bit more adult. But this lady she's a blogger, which means she just puts things up on the internet to share and try to relate to people. She has 5 children, and her oldest one is 13. And when he turned 13, she gave him a list of rules, like a contract. For, I'm going to give you this iPhone, but these rules are in place. So here's the first one. This is my favorite.
Mine too.
It is my phone. I bought it. I paid for it. I'm loaning it to you. Aren't I the greatest? Aren't you the greatest? I will always know the password. So if your iPhone is locked, I better know what the password is. I get angry about this stuff.
Yes, you do.
I get passionate about this. You have to do this. If it rings, answer it. It is a phone. Say hello. Use your manners. That's novel. Don't Do not ever ignore a phone call that the screen reads mom or dad. Not ever. I get in trouble for this. My mother calls back, and she texts, and I hear it. That's a fact. That's a fact. She's checking up on me. Do not, this is great, do not use this technology to lie, fool, or deceive another human being. Do not involve yourself in conversations that are hurtful to others. Be a good friend first. Do not text, email, or say anything through this device that you would not say in person. And do not text, email, or say anything to someone that you would not say out loud with their parents in the room. Censor yourself. There's a long list. You would have to do 3 pages of that. You can look her up. She's wonderful. I really like her. Seems like a nice lady. This is good stuff, right? If more parents did this, I think we would be in a better state. And I don't want to say that and you say, well, Matt talked the whole time about how it's our problem. I don't want to give that impression. I want to give the impression that here's some tools that will help you so we can make this better for everyone. So here's the stuff that we have to do. Well, it's my stuff now. This is the boring stuff, but it's the important stuff. Because we're using the word bullying, but we have to know what the heck it's defined as by the law. So, here's the ORC. Harassment, intimidation, or bullying as any intentional, written, verbal, electronic, or physical act that a student has exhibited towards another particular student more than once, and the behavior does 2 things. 1, causes mental or physical harm, which we have to be able to prove, and is sufficiently, listen to these words, sufficiently severe, persistent, or pervasive that it creates an intimidating, threatening, or abusive educational environment for the other student. That's a lot of big words. And that's a big threshold to meet. So, a student just calling another student an unkind name because they're having a bad day doesn't meet that threshold. Now let me step back. Does that mean that when you call the office, I'm going to ignore it? No. That means that we need to talk to that student. We need to help that student. But that doesn't mean the student's a bully. That means that they need to have better peer-to-peer communications. But if you call and you give me information and I investigate it and it does meet that threshold, then we have a completely different situation on hand, and I'm going to talk about what would happen. So what is the policy? So the board policy is 10.15. It is nearly verbatim of what the ORC says. And I'm not going to read the whole thing because it's almost the same. Severe, persistent, pervasive, those big fancy words. Here's the one. This is in the ORC too, but I just didn't have enough room on that slide. So violence within a dating relationship falls under this as well.
And we cover that here in grades 7 through 12. I do it with the 7th and 8th graders, and Mr. Schmidt does it at the high school with the 9th through 12th graders.
So K through 6 don't get this portion of the programming. 7 through 12 does, but it is something that happens, and it is something that's under the this policy.
Oh, this is good. All right, examples of conduct. These are the things that we can look at. Physical violence, of course, taunts, name callings, put downs, threats and intimidations, that's words and or gestures, extortion or stealing of money and or possessions, exclusion from the peer group or spreading rumors, that's my world, that's what I live with every day, and violence within a dating relationship.
So this is where the handbook talks about the electronics. It says that communication technology, posting slurs on websites where students congregate, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat. Sending abusive or threatening instant messages, you could put or text there. The text would fall underneath that threshold. Using cameras to take embarrassing photos of students and posting them online. And using websites to circulate gossip and rumors to other students. So I think at this point I'm going to talk to you about where the grade comes in. So if it happens during the day, which it does, people are mean, kids are mean to each other in the hallways, verbally. Kids are sometimes mean to each other via text in the hallway. It happens. Like I said, people have bad days and they're unkind. If it happens during the day, it's much easier for me. I'll be perfectly honest. Because it's in our realm. It's in our, it happened on school time. Where it becomes gray is when it happens from 2:40 on. And it happens from 2:40 on. It happens 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. It becomes the parent's responsibility after school hours. But, there's a big but in this. If the action impedes upon the educational environment, so if the stuff that's happening at home trickles in, then it becomes our issue again. So some people will tell me, Matt, why do you have to deal with this? Because it's happened out of school hours. It's not your problem. It is my problem. Because even if it hasn't met that threshold yet, it could. So our mentality is, let's deal with it now before it escalates. So what happens if you call the office and you say, Peggy, Matt, what am I going to do? Here's a printout of a Facebook page of my student getting negative comments posted on her wall or his wall. What are we going to say? Well, we're going to help in that we're going to try to diffuse the situation. But if it meets a certain threshold, if it's unkind enough or severe enough, we're going to say you need to file a police report. Because you can do that. So if it's happening after school hours, you can file a police report. And as a matter of fact, if it happens during school and it's severe enough, we're going to file a police report for you. So you have some power. You have some control. But it's gray. And I'm not going to lie to you. So if you come into school with that printout of that Facebook page or that Twitter page, we have, the burden of proof falls on the school that it was impeding upon the educational environment. And that's not easy to do sometimes. That doesn't mean we don't welcome the investigation. That doesn't mean we're not willing to go to bat for you. I'm just telling you it's hard. If you want open and honest, I'm going to be open and honest. It's not easy. Do you have any question about it? That's hard. That's something that you need to know. Do you have questions about that specific thing? If it's happening out of school, what can you do? So, let's say that you suspect something's going on, or a student suspects something's going on. What's Waterloo's policy? What are you supposed to do? Well, we already said that one of the most important things you can do as a student is to tell an adult. The same thing happens for a parent. If your student is coming home crying and sobbing and feels like there's something going on, call us.
And sometimes that's the only way I hear about it, especially with middle school kids, because they don't want to come down and be a narc or be a tattletale because they're afraid it's going to make the situation worse. So sometimes if I don't hear it from a parent, I don't know what's going on because kids at that age don't want to come tell us.
And that's real in their mind.
Yeah.
The fear of retaliation, and that's in the policy. But to a middle schooler, and I'm speaking to them because that's the population I deal with the most, that's a real fear for them. So if they go home and tell you, then you have to be their voice, their advocate to help us out. So there's two types of complaints. One is written. The second is verbal. The protocol's the same. It's just how we get the information. Either you submit written that you suspect this is happening and here's the details, or you tell me, or tell Mrs. Shaver, or tell another adult. Here's something very important. Specific details provided. For us to be empowered, we need as specific of information as possible. This is where, where more information is truly better for us to try to get to the bottom of something. So the most information the kids can give us or you can give us is better.
That's another hard area too. Kids are gonna tell two different stories, and this stuff doesn't happen in front of adults. They're smart. So if we're not there to see it, it's hard sometimes to know who's telling the truth and which side we need to lean towards. It's very hard. So the more information we have, the easier it makes it for us.
And I'm gonna move forward with this, but filed with the school member or reported. Here's something. I guess it kind of goes here. I'm going to go back to confidential, but there's a balance of rights. What does that mean? That means that, and I want you to think about this. Let's think about it as you're the parent of the alleged bully that's not really bullying. You would want your student to have the same balance of rights, or me not to jump to conclusions for that student as the parent who comes in and says that my child is being bullied. Because we don't know when we first get the information what's true and what's not true because we weren't there. So it's really important to us to make sure that everyone is protected and safe. That we hit on this, the confidentiality, which plays into the I'm afraid if I tell somebody that I'm going to get persecuted. All of this stuff has to come into play. So, if you call and make a report, if you come in and make a report, and the two of us seem elusive with details, or we seem like we're hiding stuff, it may be that we're trying to protect the other party because we don't know all the information. That's our responsibility. And I try to think about, what if I'm the parent of the student who's been accused? How would I want a principal to treat my child? It's kind of hard to look through the other lens sometimes. But there are parents that are sitting on the other side of the table who have real concerns about that very issue. Okay, so let's say we're moving on. It's been presented to us. We talked about confidentiality. We talked about the balance of rights. It's our job to do an investigation to determine if it occurred or not. So if it occurred, then we're going to recommend steps to make sure it doesn't happen again. It may be something, it depends on where we are in the grand scheme of things, or the spectrum. So if it's a mild offense, we may go in one direction. If it's a severe, we're going to go in another. It is case sensitive, which I would hope you would want it to be. Because sometimes just blind punishments don't make a whole lot of sense when you're trying to apply common sense to the principles. That's the thing about common sense, it's not so common sometimes. Read this last one. Retaliation is prohibited. So, if they're afraid that they're going to get retaliated against, and it actually happens, then we can do something as a school. Those students are protected. So if we find, so let's say I address an issue, I said we do an investigation, he always says I have to be the bad guy. So then I do the discipline portion of it. And then the next day, somebody comes to us and finds out that the kid who was the informant is getting persecuted, then I can immediately use the full range of discipline consequences with them. Because that's a real scary thing. And the kids need to be protected. So here's two routes we can go in, which kind of placates to that spectrum. One is non-disciplinary. So let's say that it's very early in the process, and we think we can make a difference with these kids through non-disciplinary action consequences. Then we're going to use them. This is only if it's identified very early. So we may say we need to do counseling with Mrs. Shaver. We may recommend students to other county agencies like Children's Advance.
They come into our school.
And they're here.
They're here on Wednesdays, every Wednesday.
So we may look through those routes. Maybe the student who is engaging in this act is going through their own pile of stuff that they don't know how to handle. That happens. Sometimes we don't think about what the kids are going through, and they don't know how to handle it because they're not, sometimes adults can't handle life. Some days I feel like I can't handle life. maybe we need to teach them how to work through things that are going on that they have no control. So mom and dad are getting a divorce. So what's it, 50% of all marriages, this is uplifting, 50% of all marriages end up in divorce. So 1 in 2 of our students may be going through something. And let's say it's not a pleasant divorce. And let's say they don't know what to do. And they're so angry, they're so upset, they're torn between mom and dad, and they come to school and they're just angry. That's not too hard to think about, but that could happen, right? So maybe we need to do something like this. Maybe we need to get them that extra help. And then there's another thing that we've been trying this year. We've been trying. It's peer mediation. This, I will say this and stress this is not for any severe case. And it is with the help of adult guidance. And it's not for everything. But sometimes there's I call them pre-bullying, that's my own word, pre-bullying situations where we're not quite there, but if we keep teetering on this, we can get somewhere we don't want to be. So let's have them work through these issues with adult supervision. Because sometimes they don't know how to communicate. They don't know how to communicate through a text, and that's not very clear. So maybe we need to help teach them how to communicate. And then if it's disciplinary, so if it's on that other end of the spectrum, the policy allows us to use the full range of consequences. From a warning to, we're going to go severe as an expulsion. Questions about the remedial action? I will tell you that we hope that it's over on non-disciplinary because we've been given information, we found information that's early enough that we can make an impact on a student. But sometimes that doesn't happen and we have to use other resources, and that's why the policy is written the way it is. Now I've thrown a whole bunch of stuff at you. Mrs. Shaver's thrown a whole bunch of stuff at you. Do you have questions that we can help you with or try for? Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I'm in Peggy's situation, I'm old, so. I'm assuming Twitter, okay, Twitter is like a news feed, correct? Okay, so let's say someone puts on Twitter a sexting situation. So if you're part of that news feed, there could be 50 people that get it,
Yeah.
I believe. So if that happens, I mean, you said already they can do that with the phone and they can save it. If they receive that, does it stay on the phone or does it run through?
It depends on how long the person leaves it up. So there'll be new information that'll push it out.
Okay.
But if it's retweeted, I'm going to use words that I'm just learning about, retweeted or favorited, is that a word? They favorite it, then it could get pushed higher on the list and then be up there for longer. This is what I told kids this, I don't know, a week ago, I don't know, maybe before Christmas. I said, they were putting something on Twitter unkind. And so somebody wrote it, and then one of their friends said, hey, I agree with that, I'm going to retweet that. So then it goes on my wall. Or I'm going to favorite it, it goes on my wall. You assume ownership is what I'm telling you.
So if they just let it run through,
They're not showing ownership of it. They're showing that they're following the person
can
that's
they be in
dating back.
trouble for receiving it?
No, because that's a news
Okay.
feed.
Okay.
I'm going to say not to my knowledge. Because they're not soliciting it. Somebody is posting something inappropriate. So you can subscribe to people and have no control over what they post. I would strongly suggest if you have a friend that's doing that, you should unsubscribe to them. However, I don't think you're liable unless you say, that's a great picture, I'm going to retweet it or favorite it.
Well, when I'm followers that's being followed, you can be a follower of this person. If they post it, then you just get it because you're a follower of them.
But would it be, I guess the next step would it be, should the student, like if they're going to show it to the parent?
They just show them
What do
the
we tell
news
the
feed.
kids? Should they save it so they can see it?
No.
Exactly. So
No.
what if their parent isn't right there, so they can't show it to anybody? It's off before they can show it to them.
Then you just tell the adult, and the adult can make a report through us or the police if it's something severe enough. But I would never, ever, ever recommend you save it to your phone. I was talking to the Portage County Correctionals, and they read a report recently that said that an administrator who was getting an investigation, who had the picture, might be liable. So I'm telling you, if I'm not safe, no one's safe. So if the person who's getting the investigation, so my game plan is if somebody shows it to me, I've already thought about this. If somebody shows it to me, I'm calling the police and showing them and saying, this is your problem. Not your problem and I'm not going to help with the bullying. Your problem that I don't want to go to jail for somebody in a picture that was sent to me.
Once it's out there, it's always out there.
Right.
Even if you delete it off your phone, I can find it.
And that, let's talk about what John said. You've heard about the, Steubenville? The things that are going on in Steubenville, the rape case that they're investigating. So kids deleted stuff off their phone, and they had a non-profit hacking organization or something that's kind of anonymous advocates that go help out with these situations, and they were able to go into the computers, into their phones, and pull information out. So even though it's deleted, somebody can figure out how to get it out, and I assure you that the police can.
And I tell the kids that. And also this year, the Portage County Sheriff came in and talked to our middle school kids, and he told them that just because you delete it doesn't mean it's gone. There are people that work for the police force, that's their only job, to find deleted information. So the kids know that.
Yes, ma'am.
And that's what I was gonna say, I know that you were asking, how do they show their parents later? The thing is that they don't have to save it to their phone, it's just like Facebook. You can go to that person's page or that person on Twitter and follow their feed and find that post if that's what they want to show you because they felt it was inappropriate. Because unless that person takes it off their wall, it's gonna be there.
And if it,
So that's another way that you can check, and your kids cannot have to save something to their phone. They see something inappropriate, you're not home, they can be like, oh, later on, I want to show you this, and they can have you go to that person's wall or page or whatever.
and that's why I think Snapchat is so dangerous, because there isn't that wall, there isn't that feed, it's just a person-to-person communication. I just wanted to tell you this. Let's run a scenario, a hypothetical. So, your student is having, I guess other students are saying negative things about your child on Facebook and Twitter. I would strongly recommend against you yourself responding to that other child's post. It is my world.
Mine too.
It is my life. The conversation, even if it's nice, even if it's constructive, sometimes you can't reason or be rational with a teenager. You should know this, right? So if you are the parent of the person who's getting these negative comments, and you try to stand up and say, hey, you can't do that, you can't bully, and blah, blah, blah. In my opinion, you should have went a different route with that, even if you were calm. And this is hard because this is the mama bear, papa bear instinct coming out, and you're going to just handle it. Well, when you do that, sometimes, and I've seen this real time, whole scenario hypothetical, then other kids start lashing out at you, and you get more pushback from that on the student, on your own child. So my recommendation would be, if it's severe enough, make a police report, and or contact us and we'll help you. Then it's never, well, I got in the mix, because even if it was something constructive, you can be construed as part of the problem. So don't do it, and it's going to be hard, because those parental instincts are going to come fierce. Luke, did you have a question?
Well, I just have two things I was gonna say.
Sure.
Like, when someone sends something through, like, internet at someone else's house, per se, like, I go over to my friend's house and send something to someone else, they can track down my computer from they just take the zip code off the thing, because that's what the cops have, they have the zip code for everything, and when they take that, they can track down where it is, check the computer, and get where it did it. And the other one is,
Let me talk to that for a minute. Sometimes kids feel, this has hypothetically happened in the past, that they are protected because they're on somebody else's computer. So we go over to Jill's house and we do it on Jill's house, on her computer, so I'm fine. Or we use Jill's camera to take a picture of me and Jill sends it. Not good. You're not protected. Okay, tell me your second.
And the second one, what these two do for me,
The parental units that you love and adore, is that what you were saying?
yes, they have this thing where if you go online, you can read every single text that your child's ever sent. That's, even if it is deleted, it's still there.
That's very good.
Awesome. It's awful.
I do the same thing, so.
We're gonna say it again. Unfortunately, right now, you have no privacy, and you're not gonna like it, but they're doing that because they love you.
I'm not positive about work.
And the phone has to be at 9 o'clock, it's not in his room at night, it's charged outside of his room, so that there is no texting overnight or anything like
Yeah,
that.
Janelle had that in hers
Janelle
too.
said like at 7, she said she was a little stricter. She said at 7:30 it comes to me every day, and then you can get it back in the morning. Because we hear about this, the kids are up texting all through the night. Like it's just nonstop. And you can take it from them. Blame it on me if you want to. Take it from them in the night and say, this is not yours anymore.
They don't need it at night. There's no reason for them to have it, so take it.
Okay, other questions? Yes? Yes, I'm ready for you.
Ma'am. Who's the ma'am? Who's the lady here?
A lot of age jokes here.
Yeah. Okay, do you have Wi-Fi at the school?
We do.
Okay. Now, we put on parental controls at home. Are there the controls on the Wi-Fi through the school?
Yes.
Because, you know, if my daughter has a Kindle and she likes to read on it, but, you know, that has Wi-Fi.
It goes through, it's all protected under
Is it
the
all
school
protected?
website, and it's.
So you know if anybody goes on the Wi-Fi,
It's kind of scary what they can do. Like, they'll call me and provoke me, Montgomery, what are you doing in this room? Because our tech guys can, once I'm logged in, it says, I've got it registered though, so it says Matt's here, and I think they just try to provoke me and tell me where I am, and just mess with my head. But if we figure out what your address is, which you can do, then we know exactly who's downloading what and where they are in the building. So not only is it filtered, so if something's happening that's above and beyond that we can't control, we can find out where they are and what they're doing. So there is some security. But I will say that we can't monitor the text they're sending. So that doesn't have to go through a filter. If they have their own, I guess we're most vulnerable. I don't want to get in trouble for saying this. We're most vulnerable for the students who have internet capability without logging into the school Wi-Fi. So if you have a data plan and you can,
on the phone.
yeah,
Like the 4G or something.
if they have
That's
very
their
good
Wi-Fi.
service, and this is like a bomb shelter someplace, but if you have very good service and you have a data plan, they can go around the filter or the Wi-Fi and just get on the internet that way.
That's where I come in our household. We don't have a home phone anymore, so we have a high schooler and then a junior high and an elementary school. The junior high and elementary school have just a basic phone that they can text their friends, whatever. But they are not allowed to delete anything off their phone unless I tell them to. They start getting high on their memory or whatever, and I'm like, let me see them first, and I go through their text messages. They're not allowed to delete anything because I can go on the internet, pull up every text message, all that, and find out, and I do check it, and they know that. As far as our high schooler, she just got upgraded to the smartphone or whatever, but she also knows I know her passwords, and if I find that she's deleting anything or she's saying something, her phone becomes mine. So that's how I kind of get around the whole phone use during school, and she'll text me at lunch or at study hall. I'm done with this, can I go ahead and do this on my phone? So I know what she's doing and she communicates with me, which was kind of nice that you guys have allowed them to use their phone a little bit this year. And so far it's been working, but that's just our situation because my daughter knows I will take her phone
Right, and I
she
think
won't have it.
I think one of the major points is that we want you to have conversations with your children trying to figure out what works for your family. Some involvement has to happen, we agree upon that, but everybody has their own unique needs. So having the conversation is a heck of a lot better than not. Any other questions?
Even if you block it on your internet, even in school, there's proxies accounts that'll let us get around anything. So you have to remember, if you block Facebook because you don't want your daughter on Facebook, I can go to a proxy account and open it up and go through it a different way.
Tell them what a proxy account is. 'Cause
A proxy account is a different website that actually uses a different server to go off. So I might not be able to go on Facebook here, but I can go to www.facebook3 and open it up, and it's not Facebook, and then I can hit their link and I go to Facebook.
So it kind of takes you around.
And if I tell you if we block 100,000 of them today, there'll be 200,000 tomorrow. There are that many out there. So even with the filters, and so even in school, you still have to make sure you're filtering your kids. I have to walk around. I have on my Apple iPad. I can look at my school's computer screen on my phone, on my computer, just to make sure they're not going anywhere. I'm still not invincible.
Mrs.
I
Hu-
have one question. You have all these problems you're talking about tonight, so why is schools allow kids to have phones during the day?
It's an excellent question. Mrs. Huth is a VIP in the room right now.
Old school.
We have this conversation sometimes on a daily basis. And it's something that I will tell you that we go back and forth with, and I struggle with, I think all of us struggle with. But my answer to her, and she's not going to like this, is that we're living in a technological world. And we have to educate them to be proficient using the technology because they're going to need it to be successful in the future. So somehow we have to integrate it into plain school so we teach them how to be responsible for when they go out into the world. It's another way to, I guess it's another responsibility that I think that has fallen on the shoulders of the school to help prepare them for society. I think it can, like last night if you were at the board meeting or you were watching online, Mr. McKinnon gave an awesome presentation of middle school students that created websites for the book Tuck Everlasting, and they created and they made it their own and they shared it, and it was phenomenal. It was technology in its finest. But Mrs. Huth is right, there's a whole bunch of other stuff that comes along with it. So we have to find the happy medium. We have to find the partnership between you and us and the law and the students to somehow make it work. And I think right now we're learning.
So let me ask a follow-up. Have you seen an increase this year in issues with cell phone use because we've allowed it in?
In offenses, no. It's been about the same. So what Dr. Hill is trying to say is that last year when they weren't allowed, were they still getting in trouble texting, Instagramming, Facebooking? Yes. We've had more incidents on, I've lost my phone, I gave it to Jimmy to borrow my phone, and now Jimmy doesn't know where it is. Or, in some incidents, my technology is gone. I'm not going to lie to you, it's not frequent, but I've had conversations today about that. So, when we say more incidents, not offenses, more, I want to say irresponsible, sometimes there's kids that are just taking things. So it's not all of them being irresponsible, but sometimes that plays a part. But it's not, and I think Mrs. Huth and I will continue to have this debate forever. And that's okay, because we have to find the balance.
I'll stick up first. My thing is where the first subject, how old would these kids that have cell phones? I'm blaming on the parents. If a third grader has a cell phone, you as a parent have failed. Amen. No third grader should have a phone, and that third grader, the fourth grader, or fifth grader should not be able to, okay, you said technology. What age group do you use technology in the school? I go along with you. I used to buy the latest camcorders and all that, and I carried them away. To me, I never misused it, but I, as a taxpayer, should not be paying administrators for doing the job we gotta do to find the trouble in this school system where the kids are misusing it. We wired this school for technology, not the use of cell phones, and you have to handle the problem in the end every day it's going on. With a bullying, the whole night was on this thing here. When we grew up, we had it, but we took care of it. Now it went a step forward. How many kids in the third grade bring the cell phones in?
Most of them.
What do they use it for?
Now, I will,
Why do
and
you
I
use-
asked them that, and I will tell you, there's been one good reason I've been given. A lot of families don't have landlines anymore. And if the kids go home after school and they're alone for a half hour, whatever, the parents want them to have a phone, and I get that. But in that case, I don't think it needs to come to school. Leave it at home, and then when you get home, the phone is there.
Can the kids use a cell phone at school?
Not the elementary kids, no.
Up to what grade?
The handbook allows.
Allows them, but
Done.
nobody down there does it.
Choose.
Yeah. Nobody down there does it.
I just had like a comment on what he was saying. What I was thinking was with all the shoot, like if you watch the news on like occasionally, there's been multiple shootouts. There's been a lot of bomb threats. Not that I'm saying that they're real, but it's good to have a cell phone in that case if you want to call to check in, to call to make sure that nothing else has gone on, to check with your friends to make sure they're okay, to just like communicate and make sure people are okay due to that reason.
Okay. Sean?
I'm good.
I don't know, Rick, I don't know what the answer is. In my heart right now, I think a third grader is kind of young. But I don't have a third grader at home. So I struggle with that. I just don't know.
Technology to kids who don't have the brain capacity to understand the consequences to it. High school, maybe, your brain is developing, it's changing. We're giving the technology is good if you have a teacher reading it, the teacher is seeing it. But we're giving technology to kids who don't have the brain to understand the real consequence.
We see that in the news. I totally.
Exactly. You can tell them and tell them and tell them, but they don't have that frontal lobe. It's not developed till you're 20, 30. They're going to make, and we keep giving them that and asking them to be responsible when we're not with them. You can go around the parental controls, but how about just teach them when they're ready to handle that responsibility?
And I said that, if you go back earlier, it says you can say no. And that's where it comes down to. If you say yes, there's things that I, as an administrator, would expect a parent to do. And those are some things I referred to earlier. But if you don't want to deal with that, if you don't think your kid's ready, then don't give them the phone. That's how you're ultimately protected. But I'll say this, in case I'm the bearer of bad news. So I don't give my middle schooler a phone, so they just go use somebody else's. So I think that I don't think the technology is so much the problem. I think teaching them how to use it responsibly is the key. So I don't think that, almost went into like a gun control thing. I better not do that. I think we have to educate our students and the adults and us, so we're always educating, how to use it effectively. And if we're not comfortable with it, then we shouldn't let our kids use it, and that's our right as a parent. But I took a phone away from a student yesterday that wasn't hers, and her mom said that she wasn't allowed to use it. No texting, no technology, nothing, and I took a phone from her. And I said, you know how your mom feels about this? Oh, I was just texting a friend. And then another student came up and said, well, I just let her borrow it. Mom, Mr. Montgomery, I don't know what her mom feels. So it's really hard to fix it. You see how there's so many different angles, so even if you don't have a phone, there's a problem. That's why I think the education is the only result that's going to, the only option that's going to get results. Just my soapbox again, I'm getting.
The education, but also the communication, whether it's us as parents, us as community members, us with the faculty at Waterloo. We're not going to stop technology, folks. We can't go back to pencils and paper. For those that were at the board meeting or watched the board meeting, there were 3 8th graders that stood up in front of us that were there and were so excited to show their book report. When all of us were in school, book reports involved paper and line spacing and pencils, and you had no personality, no character. And the kids today are all about personality, color, character, YouTube. These 3 girls stood up there and were so nervous, they're 8th graders, but so proud to be able to show off that report. It was amazing. They did it all through Google Docs, and they could show their personality. Each one of them popped through on these different pages within that report. I would encourage anyone, if that's the only piece of the board meeting you watch, just to incorporate technology, to view that piece. As Mr. Montgomery said, our 3-year-olds, our 4-year-olds can take our phones, can take our iPads, and flip through that like nobody's business. We can't stop these kids. But they're engaged. They're going to be more engaged in school if we allow them to use technology the right way. The minute we say, you know what, we're taking away that iPad, they're going to go somewhere else and get it. Just like whether it's drugs, alcohol, or doing the wrong thing, you say no, they're unfortunately going to go another way. So how do we teach each other as grown-ups, whether we grew up with technology or not, and work with the administration to do the right thing and teach each other and then teach our kids the right way? And that was a big, big point of this meeting. How do we learn about the bullying, and then you bring in the technology? That opens a whole nother 60-minute conversation. But we can go there if we need to. And if we need to bring in classes and just even 101 sessions on what is a Facebook account, how do I create one, we'll do it if that's what we hear tonight. But it's not going anywhere, guys, so we can't hide behind that. We need to learn that you don't have to like it. There's things in this world we have to deal with and not like it, but we have to know that it's there and educate ourselves. So that's what I'm, as Waterloo Community Action Committee, that's what I'm asking. My 4-year-old sitting at home, she called me on the way to this meeting, Mommy, where'd you put my computer? She's got a LeapPad she got from Santa, and that's her computer, and she knows how to flip through it. Brother got a Nook, he's a 3rd grader. They're on the roll, and they're gonna use it, and they want their books on that. I can't stop them.
Just so everybody knows, whenever Dr. Hill brought this to us at the board meeting, it was a long, long discussion. Because, I mean, not to offend any other board members, but none of us are young. So, we look at things in the old way. Steve's on the ball with technology, probably the best of all of us. But it was a huge, huge discussion. And basically what it came down to was whether we allow technology in the school or not, it's going to be there. And if it's going to be there, then we need to put some parameters on it. We need to let them know that we know what they're doing, we are controlling it, and we will punish them if they don't do it the way we want. So, I mean, it's going to come anyway. It's just like a dress code. If parents send the kids, they think, oh, well, it's up to the school to decide whether they're dressed appropriate. No, they're walking out of your house with those clothes on. But there are many parents that think if Mr. Montgomery doesn't send them home because they're dressed inappropriately, then they must be dressed okay. Well, no.
P.S. I'll be the high school principal in a couple weeks. So if anybody gets sent home,
So I mean, it's the same thing. It's just because at school we don't want to have to deal with it, we have to deal with it. Because this is what comes to the school, and we have to find a way to address it and make sure that it's handled properly. So whether we like it or not, we have to deal with it. And so it's better to be educated and make sure the kids know that we're not old and don't know what we're doing. We're on the ball and we know what we're doing.
I'm in a little different, I guess. My kids are only 3rd and 5th grade, and I know this year, especially, I've had a lot of discussions because it's my 5th grader, my daughter, a lot more social. Girls are a lot meaner this year. She's had to get a lot of thicker skin, but I guess I have to talk to my kids more. I mean, they don't know how to communicate. I mean, they are techno savvy. I mean, my children do not have phones, but they do have they're very upbeat. But now my third grade son, I found also this year, boys are much more physical with each other, especially on the playground. And, you know, my son did have a problem that was addressed and was taken care of very well by his teacher, but my fifth grade had to come to me to let me know about the problem. So I guess as a parent, I'm missing maybe the tools on how to find out that there was a problem. You know, like his shirts were coming home stretched, like different things. And I guess as a parent, I didn't know what was going on. My fifth grader had to tell me about it.
And then did you call your school?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
And his teacher took care of the next, I mean, she called me back within 24 hours. Like, I tried, I mean, it turned, you know, and it was addressed, absolutely, but I just said, as a parent, I guess I wasn't seeing, you know what I mean, he's a rough and tumble little, I mean, he's a little guy, but you know what I mean, I'm like, but then my fifth grader, apples and oranges in my children's personalities, she's more mature, you know, and girls do talk a little more about that. So you have to filter it all the time. I mean, there's so much you have to decide what is, you know, and I think from second to third grade, what I've seen is just behaviors have changed a lot. Like children learn in second grade, like, if I'm going to hang around these kids, I'm either going to have to like talk amongst us so we start behaving better. So he was hanging around a different group of kids, and I don't know, you know, that's the difference. I don't know, but I guess as a parent, I don't know, even at the younger age, when to know that there's a problem. I mean, a concern. I mean, I did call and it was addressed, but I just.
Yeah, at what point are
Do you
we
know
not
what I mean?
narcs?
Because kids do throw that
Or
bully
are
load
we
around,
not,
like,
you know, are we
somebody
not
called me a
calling-
nerd.
calling
I've been
you
bullied
and
today. I mean, you have to like, every day you hear something. You know, it's hard to filter, and you don't want to bombard the school with
If it's
my
something
kid having a problem.
that's repeated, like we talked about, that's
It-
something
yeah.
happens more than once a week, or Mr. Montgomery, or Miss Early, if it's the elementary, and it can't ever hurt to call.
I guess it's hard to have that conversation with your child, like, is there something, how'd you stay, what was your favorite part, what was your least favorite part?
That
you know?
conversation is very important.
You know what I mean, like.
Yeah, it's huge.
And through those conversations, you might get some kind of influence.
Right.
So that's your only fighting chance to continue the communication. So if something is, I wish I had a magic solution for you, but it sounds like you're doing everything you should be doing.
Well, yeah, it was handled very appropriately, and third grade teachers are very creative when it comes to, I mean, they are, because boys are different, they don't, at least I have found they like to push and shove a little more, little girls will be a little more social.
It doesn't go away.
Right, but, you know what I mean, now you're getting to where it's just, like, elementary school, it's kind of such a safety net, and then
Middle school.
I guess you have to have, yeah, it's a whole
The
thing.
communication, I guess if there's a take-home, communication with our students and your children is key.
Well,
Between, like us, like
Right.
me going, sometimes I learn the most throughout the day by going, they hate it when I do this, but I go through the lunchroom and I just sit down at tables.
Don't hate it.
They don't hate it. And just start.
They don't hate it.
No, they don't hate it.
No, they
But-
don't.
But I go and I try to find out, I try to communicate. So I think the more people that are communicating with them, the more we can find little pieces to the puzzle that they're trying to hide or they're unsure about, or maybe they don't know who to talk to or how to talk to somebody. But keeping that dialogue alive is, I think, the key to their success.
Warm fuzzy moment. Last week when I was in the third grade classes, when I was done with my presentation, one of the boys came up and gave me a hug and said, Mrs. Shaver, thank you so much for telling us all of this.
I'm sure it was nice.
Yes, ma'am.
And I think it's important that us as parents and community members continue to communicate. As she mentioned, there was an incident before Christmas, and there were several of us involved. And I think all of us parents behind the scenes were scared to call each other. But ultimately, our phones, once you can get past that first barrier, the parents started to communicate, and we tried to get to the bottom of what is going on. Was this an isolated, those types of things. We need to find a way to break down that he said, she said garbage that goes around town, but also not be afraid to communicate amongst each other. We're all, and I hate to use this saying because it's so said a lot, but it takes a village. And this town is too small for us not to talk. We're working towards this school. We're working together here. We're here for another several years, guys, especially if we have elementary kids. It's not going away. So how can we work together? It's meetings like this, it's communication, and don't be afraid. As Mr. Montgomery said, I'm not gonna go jump on my child's middle schooler's page and try to stop the garbage. But is it a conversation I can also have? You need to know that boundary, but don't be afraid, whether it's a call to the school or to a parent. Our other concern at Community Action Committee was, we know it doesn't stop when that bell rings and those kids get on that bus and get off that bus. Whether they're going to a sports event, or they're going to the playground, or whatever. It goes on all summer long even. So we have to be able to keep our eyes and ears open and be able to talk. During that summer months, I can't call Mr. Montgomery. It's not his gig then. So we need to be able to.
Yes, you can.
Well, I could, but I'm not going to. It's not going on. So we need to be able to talk amongst each other as well, instead of even bullying one another. It goes on even into adulthood. So how can we help stop that and teach our kids the right thing?
Okay, I'm going to take a moment to, I see you shifting, so I know that you're ready to go soon. So I just want to tell you, you can stay, we'll stay, we're not going to leave. But if some of you are ready to go, I just want to tell you this first. Don't forget that next Monday, we have our informational meeting on the finances, and we have, I guess, everyone worked really hard to try to get some people here that can answer some questions. So it's at 7 o'clock, it's here, and I'm going to read the list. So Janet Esposito, the Portage County Auditor, is going to be here. John Eklund, the State Senator, is going to be here. I'm excited to hear from him. Roger Hardin, the Ohio Department of Education, is going to be here. What's the Springfield? Stauffer. Mr. Stauffer, the Superintendent of Springfield Local, will be here. And that was a district that was previously in fiscal emergency.
And today, Kathleen Klein.
She confirmed. So I think there'll be a lot of people here that can answer some questions that I think a lot of people have. So that next Monday, 7 o'clock, same place. We'd love to have you out. We'll stay up here, but for the rest of you, thank you very much.
Thank you.
You did an awesome job. A plus audience participation.
Good to see you. How are you?
Thank you so much.